Hey, sweetie. I brought you some cottage cheese.
Oh, thanks.
Welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels with your hosts, Sean and Marianne Dawn.
Well, hello, Parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. I am your host, Sean Donnelly.
And I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly.
That's right. If you haven't caught our videos this week, you didn't get the inside story. So we'll put links to those videos as we move along.
Yes.
All right. So in today's location video, we're traveling out to Lucas, Ohio, to the Ceely Rose House.
Yes.
Yes, we are. We traveled to this location on May 30th, 2015.
Yes, we went as part of Malabar Farm's night hunts.
Yes, we did. We went with Divine Paranormal, well, Mike and Lee with Divine Paranormal. All four of us went. I'm going to put a link to Divine Paranormal's webpage in the comments. They're not on YouTube, but yeah, so we're talking about Panic D number 1989, and it's at 4050 Bromfield Road in Lucas, Ohio. And the location really isn't open to the public, but it is.
Right. It's only open to the public a couple of times a year through the night haunts at Malabar Farm.
That's right. That's right. So you do have to take that tour to actually go inside. However,
Correct.
We're going to share with you today some pictures of inside
Yes.
Ceely Rose House.
From when we were there.
Yeah. And also within the barn as well. Okay, so before we get rolling on some of the other details, we were going to cover the history of the Ceely Rose House. And normally we play a video for that. However, there's not much history. So Marianne's just going to kind of go over it.
Yeah, it's a little bit short, so why put you through all that aggravation?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. So I'll show you guys a couple pictures while she's actually
Okay.
going history.
Sounds
so
good.
are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's hit it.
All right. So the history and the story of the Ceely Rose House actually began well before the Rose family even got the land and property. In fact, it began back in the early 1800s when Charles Schrack started cutting down giant oak trees along Switcher's Creek in Pleasant Valley. And the first thing that he built was a home along Little Mountain Road, which today is called Bromfield Road, for his family. The second thing that he built was the Schrack Mill. And so here's a picture that Sean has of the Schrack Mill. These two buildings were located in the area where today the youth hostel stands in the Malabar Farm, Ohio State Park. Now, the single most important service for early American farmers was a grist mill, and because they needed to turn their wheat, oats, and barley and corn into something that they could either eat or that they could sell as flour. So Charles Schrack's land became the most visited and highly valued and popular hub in Monroe Township. In the decades surrounding the 1820s, every road eventually would lead to Schrack's mill. That utilized the water power to turn its grinding stones, and then he mounded up the earthen dam that ponded over the water level at the mill from Switcher's Creek. In the winter, they even used this as a skating rink. Now, Charles Schrack lived until 1860, and even after he was gone, the place operated with other millwrights, and it was known forever as the Schrack Mill. In 1880, the mill finally came into hands of the family in question today. It came into the hands of a miller named David Rose. Now, he moved his family into a little house across the creek, and he ground grain for 16 years. He and his wife Rebecca had 2 children, and they lived in the house with them. By the time Louis Bromfield eventually took up this site in 1896, the landmark only had a few years left because the grain mill had already been dismantled and its timber was repurposed into nearby cow barns. When he came back in 1939, he purchased the Schrack land and turned it into his Malabar Farms estate. The Ceely Rose House remained empty from the time of their demise of the family until Bromfield took care of it. And so it remained empty for many, many years. For years, the house was utilized as a residence of the farm manager and was off limits to the public. Now today, the house is opened occasionally as a part of Malabar Farm's night haunt tours, but for the most part, you can just simply drive by. Take a look at it. However, some of those old mill lumber pieces were eventually put into use in building of the barn on the main lot of Malabar Farms. And this is the location where they tell the story of Ceely Rose in October.
Very good. See, that wasn't long enough to actually worry about editing a video.
No, it's really
we pulled
quite,
it off pretty
it's
good
really
with the
quite
pictures.
quick. There's not a whole lot of details about the area because it was in the 1800s. It was a farm. Eventually, it turned hands, to several millers along the line. The Roses did end up being one of the last ones to have that property, and then it sat vacant after their deaths until Bromfield took it over. So, there's not much to that history of that location
until after.
Were there. Yeah.
Then
and the Bromfields. Right.
Okay, so that was the history.
Mm-hmm.
The paranormal claims and ghost stories and folklore.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. The ghost stories and folklore. We did a video on Tuesday, and I'll put a link to that right here. Bing. Which talks about the sightings of Ceely Rose amongst the grounds, and maybe some other spirits. She's been spotted in the Ceely Rose House.
Yes.
And some of the other locations that we'll be doing later, but the barn at Malabar Farms. Mm-hmm. Also the Guy Berry House.
Mm-hmm. Which is now the youth hostel.
Right. And she's also been spotted by her gravesite in Lucas.
I thought it was in Lima.
Yeah, the Lima Hospital. Yes, where she passed away. Mm-hmm. So she's been spotted there as well. Last night we did a live stream and we went deep into the story of Ceely Rose and what happened. And she did murder her parents, all in the name of love.
Yes.
Supposedly. But I'll put a link to that video right here. Bing! And it was actually kind of cool. We did it as a live stream.
Yes, it was different for us.
So far,
but
we're getting good reviews on that, so we may continue to do them. I'd like to hear from some more people because it was really kind of cool. I really liked it. We had people come on as we were throwing theories out there, and we had a great discussion. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was absolutely awesome. It was just like you and I sitting there on the couch just discussing this stuff like we normally do, but we had other people putting in input as well, and it was really awesome.
Yeah. So that video is quite lengthy. It's 2.5 hours, roughly. You can skip through it because it was a live feed, so we did have the interaction with the chat and stuff like that. But it did tell the story, went over the case pretty thorough, timeline, motive, different theories about the case, how they got a confession from her, what the outcomes were. It was pretty good. I really enjoyed that. So, you check that out.
Right.
And what were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say that basically, just a real quick nutshell, Ceely Rose killed her mother, her father, and her brother.
Triple homicide. Trying
to kill her supposed boyfriend's family and some neighbors of hers. And she did that with some cottage cheese that she had tainted.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for bringing it up, because now that makes sense, our intro.
Yes. So at the beginning, when I was trying to give my hubby some cottage cheese, that was what that joke was about. So for those of you who haven't already seen the live stream and you didn't understand that joke, that's kind of where that came from.
Yes. Yes, it did.
Yes.
All right. So we also covered in that video why we believe that the place is haunted. My theory is because Ceely basically didn't cross over in fear of judgment, which has been, many reports. And she's looking for her family, or looking to meet up with her family, or things like that.
I think it's more along the lines of looking to meet up with her family than fear of judgment, because she didn't seem to care very much.
If she did it, I mean, that could shoot a hole.
She was found, laughing, giggling, finding things amusing about the murders. So I'm not really 100% sure that she would actually be fearful of crossing over at that point, but it is always a possibility.
All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is our experiences when we visited and took the tour. It was like a tour / ghost hunt, which was really cool. And it started out with a presentation up in the visitor center
at Malabar Farms.
Mm-hmm. And the actual tour, and you did give the name of the tour, right?
Night Haunts.
Night Haunts? Mm-hmm. Put a link in the description for that?
Sure.
We'll put a link down in the description, because they do
And they do have some coming up this summer.
Yeah, they do them during the summer. Mm-hmm. So if you're in Ohio, check it out. Malabar Farms is actually ran by the state of Ohio now, so you'll be helping out basically a park that is used for education and things like that. That tour encompasses the story of Ceely Rose, but it also the story of Malabar Farms.
Yes. And you get to,
Farmville.
For that particular one, you do go to both Ceely Rose House and to the main house on Malabar Farms, which is also haunted. We'll talk about that another time.
That's right. We'll do a different video about Malabar Farms. But so, like I said, it starts out in the visitor center, and then different locations that you go to: the Ceely Rose House, the Guyberry House, which is the hostel, to the barn, to the main thing. There also you go out to the cemetery. Mm-hmm. Is there one other stop on there?
I don't think so. I think that's everything.
We didn't get the luxury of going to the hostel or the cemetery when we were there, because it was pouring down rain.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So they kind of
shortened it up a little bit. They brought all of their cast in that was going to be at the cemetery. They brought them into the barn, which actually kind of wasn't that bad. It was kind of cool having them all together, but it would be super awesome to go to the cemetery.
We're going to talk about the barn here in a second. Okay. But the first picture that I want to show you is when we were in that visitor center. Mm-hmm. So this picture here is actually pretty cool. Yeah. Is that your hand?
No, that's his.
That's his hand. Mm-hmm. This is actually the locket that was owned by Ceely Rose. And that is a picture, the only known photographs of her mother and her father when he was younger.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And it could have been his mother when she was younger, too.
Could be. But that is the only known young photo that we've come across of the father.
Yeah. And actually the people who put on the play and run Malabar Farms and does the ghost hunt, the one gentleman that's in charge of that has written books and plays and that kind of stuff.
All based on this case.
That's his hand right there, actually.
Yes.
And you got to hold that.
I did. During the thing, he was talking about it, and I'm like, sweetie, I want to hold that.
I want it.
And so after the presentation was over, we went up to get a closer view of it. I took the picture that you guys were taking a look at there. And then I said, can I hold that? And he's like, yeah, sure, here you go. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm holding Ceely Rose's locket. It was really super cool. The whole story, you know how I am about serial killers and murders and, history. And here I was holding a piece of history. There's so many times when you go and go to different locations that are involved in things like such. And they're like, oh, you can't touch that. Oh, you can't take a picture of it. And this was just...
that part. You can't take a picture of this. Oh, okay. Not
Yeah,
even
so
if I
this
shut
is
the flash
awesome.
off. No.
Yeah,
But he
a
was
lot
like,
of
yeah,
times.
come on over.
A lot of times
Not
they
a
just
problem.
won't let you, and I truly adored that. That was like, that was awesome. That made the whole evening.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
You were happy.
I was
were
super happy.
All right. So what I was thinking of, we talked about all the other things that we normally talk about with the location videos. Now we're going to talk about our experience. I was thinking about, we'll show them some pictures of inside Ceely Rose's house.
Okay.
And some of the things that we witnessed in the barn. Okay. We do have a live stream that's going to come out maybe tomorrow night. I was going to do it like Sunday or Monday night. However, I have 2 hours worth of audio recordings. We have an audio recording of in the visitor center when they were going over the overview, history, and we have an audio recording of from, I believe, inside of Ceely Rose's house.
Yes.
I haven't listened to them yet.
I know, it's been like 3 years and we haven't listened to them.
So it's going to be an investigation review, and I will introduce it when those come out. I'll stream
such
them
a
live.
bad habit of ours.
Well, it's just we have so much.
Life gets in the way.
We're getting ready a week from today to go on another location and do more recordings. So, hey, if these guys can join in and be part of our investigation team, because we don't have a team.
Right. It's you and me, babe.
That's right. Some of these ghost hunters out there have 10, 12 people on their team, and somebody's responsible for looking for evidence. And
yes.
we got a lot of stuff going on.
We got a lot of pots on the fire, kettles in the fire.
Something like that.
Something like that. A lot of hats that we wear.
All right. So as we go through this, all right. So we're going to show you some pictures and talk about some of our personal experiences, because we did have some personal experiences in the barn, and I'm sure we get some recording or some EVPs on those recordings. And there's more audio somewhere that I have to find for that live stream somewhere. I think I told you that. I hope it's on the recorder. So, let's get started, shall we?
Let us do that.
Okay, so the next location that we went to after the little orientation,
it was just
meet and
basically
greet type thing, was the Ceely Rose House.
Correct.
And this picture right here is actually inside the living room area of the Ceely Rose House. And you can see they have it set up with seats, because they do this a few times. So they have people come in there, and then there's another orientation basically about the Ceely Rose story in the house itself. So that was on the first level. Here's a picture of the kitchen. And of course this house has probably been renovated a few times, and it's probably not the way it was back then. And here's another shot of that living room area. From a different angle. Now in some of these pictures that we're showing you, you're going to see orbs. Let me just say we're throwing them out as evidence.
Yeah,
because
it was
of two
definitely
reasons.
really rainy that day.
Outside it was rainy. There was a lot of
And-
moisture in the air. And inside, that carpet is not the cleanest in the world.
Right.
So even when you see the ones upstairs, which I'll show you here in a second, a lot of orb dust, basically. So, which is kind of a shame, but I don't know how you prevent that. I don't know if we've got paranormal investigators watching how you could prevent the orb dust. I don't know if you sprayed. Well, then you get moisture, like to spray down the dust. So here's a picture outside as we approached the building, and you can see these orbs. It was raining.
Yeah, those are raindrops.
Okay. So we kind of like pulled up to the back of the house.
Correct.
Yeah, in a van. They basically drove us down the driveway.
We would have walked, but
yeah, it was raining.
It was raining, so they gave us a ride.
Yeah, so they took us down in the van. And then here's a picture of the yard. This is probably where those chickens were.
Yes, the famous chickens. For those of you who haven't seen the live stream yet, the extras from the morning when she was going ahead and feeding her family the poisoned breakfast, she threw the extras outside and the chickens ate it and they died as well.
Killed the chickens.
Killed the chickens.
Okay. So here's a picture of the porch. I remember the porch because we all gathered there.
Yes.
We had to wait for them to bring, I think it was 2 vans, wasn't it? Like we had to wait.
We had to wait for them to
this...
come back for the second round.
Yeah.
They took us in 2 loads.
Yeah. So we kind of waited on that porch there.
Yes.
And that was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you went upstairs.
I did.
Was this Ceely's bedroom?
I believe it is.
Okay. So here's I'll show you like 3 different pictures. Maybe 4 different pictures of Ceely's bedroom. And this is one of the areas where that little boy, if you watch the ghost stories and folklore, the little boy was up there in that room talking to a woman dressed in white.
Mm-hmm. That smelled like flowers.
It smelled like flowers. You had your recorder going when you go up there. I'd be interested to hear if there was something. Mm-hmm. And this was another bedroom that was upstairs. I'm assuming it was either the brothers or the parents' room.
Mm-hmm.
And the closet in that room was kind of interesting. Was there a 3rd bedroom upstairs?
There probably was. There should have been. One with green walls, one with green carpet. And then there should have been another one, I thought. Oh, you know what? There is another one, but I think it was closed off. I don't think they had it. I don't think they had it available at the time. I think they were renovating it.
Which makes sense because the building's actually used by the park as well. It used to be some of the workers would stay there.
Yes.
And probably some of it is storage, so they really only open it up during that tour.
Right.
Here's another shot of the kitchen. This is a shot shooting down the stairs towards the basement, but we all know that Mary Ann doesn't go in the basement.
That is correct. That is correct.
So that is actually the inside of Ceely Rose's house. Not that big.
No, it's quite small, actually.
Yeah, it's a small house.
You do go up the stairs into from the living room. So there's a staircase between the living room and the bedroom. There's a staircase between the living room and the kitchen, and that'll take you upstairs to the bedrooms and the upstairs locations.
Right, so from the Ceely Rose house, we went to the barn, and this is where we had some experiences in the barn. Mm-hmm. But again, could have been on the recordings, EVPs, which if they're not, you need a new recorder. Because there should have been. All right. So here's a picture inside of the barn, and I believe that this is some of the parts of the stage, and there's some of the chairs there. Mm-hmm. And the claims here was that production of the Ceely Rose story. They got stuff all the time. It's just like they couldn't. They kept putting the play on, but there was always something going on. The sound system would go out. The lights would blow up. Just all kinds of weird stuff. But what we experienced was related to this picture right here. Okay? That door. Now, as you look at that picture, basically on the other side of that door, and if you look over the railing inside the barn, this is what you actually see. okay, it's like down below, off to the sides. This is where the livestock are.
Yes, and you can see a couple of cute little animals there.
I think one side had goats, the other side had horses or something like that. It's a really cool barn. But here's a picture of what we actually experienced. So we gathered in there, and that was one of the actors basically dressed in period clothing. Mm-hmm. And they just went down the road telling the story, and one was dressed up like the roses, and one was the berries, and so on and so forth. But as they were there doing that door, that picture that I showed you, actually slammed shut. Just bam. And everyone looked like, oh, what was that? Yeah. And we kind of thought, okay, somebody was over there and shut the door, you know. And I'm like talking to a guy. Mike was with me too. It was like, okay, so who's down there screwing around? And the guy goes, there's nobody over there. He goes, this is typical. Every time we do this, there's always something weird like that happens in this thing. And we recorded inside that barn. I don't know if we did or not. But if there's a recording, that door slams on that audio recording.
I'm pretty sure we recorded in there.
Well, you always record.
I know.
So that might be interesting. Mm-hmm. So, and then just other weird feelings and just creepiness in that barn. It's just strange. Especially with the
rain coming down outside. Oh, yeah. It was just really, really neat.
They couldn't have ordered, a better backdrop sound type thing for their presentation.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of like it related to this location, the Ceely Rose House, because from there we went on, like you said, inside the main big house at Malabar Farms, right, which we'll do in other videos and things like that. But I definitely want to go back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely do too. Yeah. I have a date picked out in mind, so just...
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if we should tell them what date, because I don't want to not get tickets.
Well, I don't want to tell them this is the date, but I can't make that date either.
Well, that's true. But I think that if you're smart, you'll figure out which date it is.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. All right, do you have anything else you would like to add for this location? We covered Ceely pretty good. I think we covered everything that we pretty much know about it and what we did and what happened and all that. I'm kind of pleased with this one.
All right.
I can't think of anything else. Is there anything else?
Nope, I think we're good. I just do hope to, at some point, be able to get to go to the cemetery, see the gravestones that we were supposed to go to there, and then someday get to Ceely's actual grave as well.
Yeah. Go to
And that would tie the whole thing up for me.
Yeah. We'll have to do an update.
Yep.
All right, folks. Hey, until next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting. Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified the next time there's a video from Panic D Videos.
Thanks for watching.
Happy hunting.